Your support helps us bring you programs you love. Go to wyomingpbs.org, click on Support, and become a sustaining member or an annual member. It's easy and secure. Thank you.
Dating back to the late 1800s, Hot Springs State Park in Thermopolis not only is Wyoming's first state park, it's also the most visited state park in the Wyoming State Park system. Besides fishing, there's lots that happens here. Buffalo, beautiful hikes, of course, the water features of the park. Come join us as we learn more about Hot Springs State Park in Thermopolis, next on Wyoming Chronicle.
Funding for Wyoming Chronicle is provided in part by the Dragisevich Foundation, supporting the work of the Jackson Hole Historical Society and Museum.
And it's our pleasure now to be in Hot Springs State Park here in Thermopolis with the Park Superintendent Kevin Skates. Kevin, welcome to Wyoming Chronicle.
Thanks, glad you're here.
We're happy to be here, Kevin. And in the park's history, I think people might be surprised to learn, first, that this is Wyoming's oldest state park. But its history goes back into the late 1800s.
It does, and it is the oldest state park in our system. There was a treaty with the Shoshone and Arapaho tribe. It used to be an Indian reservation, and then the government bought it back from them in 1896. They signed a treaty, and so it's been a park reserve, and in 1916 it actually became a state park.
I think it was originally called the Bighorn Hot Springs State Reserve.
Correct.
Initially, and certainly it has a great history. There are so many, I guess, features of the park, Kevin. Let's start with where we're at today. We're at the boat ramp.
We're at the boat ramp, and this is kind of one of our most visited places down here because of the Bighorn River, the Rainbow Terraces, the swinging bridge, which is you can see spanning across the river, and then we have group shelters here. But I've been here 12 years, and probably one of the biggest growths I've seen is the fishermen on this river. They're hitting it pretty hard, but we get a lot of trout fishermen floating the river and just down here on fishing from the banks also.
Our viewers are now seeing some B-roll that we shot a month or so ago. We're kind of at the tail end of the flower season, but your staff puts a lot of effort into the flowers and to the beauty of the park.
We do. We're the only state park that has a horticulturist on staff, but we have 40 acres of maintained area that, between trees, grass, and the flowers. But our flower program is amazing. We plant about 11 to 12,000 flowers a year. We have over 50 beds, and we start them. Our horticulturist starts them in February, March, and from seed, and then in May we plant them.
There are bison you can see in the park.
Bison, yes. Just an awesome animal. They've been in this. They've been here at Hot Springs State Park since 1916. We just had a 100-year celebration for the buffalo and the swinging bridge there. It was built in 1916 also. But the bison, just an amazing animal to have here. I can remember as a kid myself coming here and driving up into the pasture and viewing the buffalo, and you can drive right through right through the herd, much like you do in Yellowstone. So yeah, it's neat to have them here.
And you manage the herd.
We manage the herd. We have a sale every December. We sell and buy and trade and to keep the herd healthy, and so yeah, we have another satellite herd at Bear River State Park down by Evanston, so we work with them on our sales and different things.
The herd is the size of 35 or so?
No, not right now. It's only about 18 that we have total. We change our numbers depending on the pasture, how many the pasture can feed. So if we have some good wet years and whatnot, we'll increase the numbers a little bit. But if we have some drought and some problems with our pasture, we'll decrease the number.
I think many people may remember or may use today the public bathhouse. That's been in a park a long time.
It has. It has. And I think that's one of the things that I try to tell all our visitors, or one of the unique thing about our park is that it's free. There's no cost to get into the park.
And that's not unique to all Wyoming state parks.
No, it's not. It's not. There's entrance fees and day use camping fees, but Hot Springs State Park has been free since the Treaty of 1896, and that was one of the wishes of the natives, was that a portion of this water would always remain for the people to use. So hence the state bathhouse.
Okay.
And so the bathhouse, we operate it, and there's no cost to get into it. There's a 20-minute soaking limit. We have an indoor and an outdoor soaking pool. We try to keep them around 104 degrees.
All with natural mineral water, Kevin?
Natural. And that's the other thing I like to tell people, is that all the pools, the bathhouse and the teepee and the Star Plunge, the two privately owned pools, everybody uses 100% mineral water. There's no filtration systems, there's no chemicals added, there's no town water added. It's 100% mineral water. And they're all called flow-through pools. There's a 12-hour flow-through limit. It flows in one end and out the other and drops back into the river.
Kevin, there's lots of beautiful picnic shelters here in the park, and can those be reserved, or how are those managed?
Those are reservable, yes. We have 3 of them that we reserve, and one we use just as kind of a drop-in place where you don't have to reserve it. But we starting in January, every year we take reservations. People call in and reserve them. There's a fee to reserve it. There's a $50 fee to reserve it, but it's yours for the day. And I think that's kind of what I really like about the park, is just it's a place to really come and relax. We get a ton of visitors that just stop through, have lunch. We try to keep lots of picnic tables out in the park. And it's just a great place to come and grab a nap or grab lunch, grab dinner or whatever. And the local people as well as the visitors use it for that.
I want to get to more about who comes to the park here in just a little bit.
Okay.
But the last feature I want to talk about, Kevin, is something, even though I've lived near here for a long time, I'm not aware of Legend Rock, and it's something that the state park manages.
It is. It's a state archaeological site about 28 miles northwest of town. It's out on Cottonwood Creek. If you take the 120 highway to Cody, we do now have signs on the highway, which we never did until about 8 years ago. I grew up in Cody and have been, down on the Highway 120 a million times and never knew Legend Rock even existed out there. But we do now have signs. We have a visitor center out there. We have the gates open during the summer from May 1st to September 30th. The gate is open from 8 to 6. Every day we have volunteers that work out there. They're on site. So it's really a neat place. It's a premier rock art site in Wyoming, and actually in the world, because of the number of petroglyphs and the number of sites there. And the great thing about it, we have increased tours. We do a number of tours with a lot of the local schools from Fremont County, Washakie County, Park County. We get people even coming up from Chugwater and Casper, and we do a lot of tours out there.
And people can arrange those through the park headquarters,
Through
Kevin?
the park headquarters, yes. Yeah.
If I were to ask you, what's the mission of Hot Springs State Park? Why are you here?
Really because we've got a beautiful spot, and it sits down here in this little valley in Wyoming, and we are just trying to provide a positive experience for our visitors. So we really work hard at trying to just make this so that if someone comes for a swim, or if they come just to go fishing, or if they're just driving through the park on their way to Yellowstone or wherever they may be heading, we just want to make sure they have a positive experience.
This park is funded through the Wyoming State Park System, the State Park and Cultural Resources Department.
Correct.
You also have water parks here that are privately operated, and there are other private entities. How does the relationship between your concessionaires work with you?
Yeah, that's probably that's something I've really worked hard at, and it's something that's really key to the operation of this park because of the 2 hotels and the 2 pools that we have that are privately owned, and then the bathhouse, and then the rest of the park that we run. We've got to make sure that everybody's trying to do a good job for the visitor to provide that positive experience. So if someone comes here and they go and they stay at the Plaza, the Best Western, and they go swimming over at the Star Plunge, we want to make sure that they enjoy that experience. And so us as the park employees, we try to make sure that everything works, that we're working well with the concessionaires and they're working with us, and it's a process.
Kevin, over the years, especially with the water parks, there have been, I guess, discussions between the private operators and the state park group that have kind of experienced rough waters at times. How is that relationship today, and what is that process?
There has been some rough water. We've gotten through some of it. We're still dealing with we deal with the concessionaires on a daily basis, but I think our working relationship is good. It's getting better. It's important that we keep a good relationship because our visitors, when they come to the park, they don't know if it's privately owned or if the state runs it or whatever, but they come to the park to enjoy the water. And that's really why most people come, is for the water.
It's one of the main attractions, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's the number one attraction is mineral water. So it's important that we keep that relationship good. We're working with all the concessionaires to have master plans. We've developed a new one here in 2016. We've completed ours, so we're trying to combine all those master plans and make a lot of things that are similar so that we can get some things accomplished and upgrades.
You touched earlier, Kevin, on the visitors who come here. Who are the visitors? What do you know about them? Where do they come from?
You know, during the summer months, in the fall, like right now, this time of year, we just get a ton of out-of-state visitors, out-of-country visitors. We average about 1.8 million visitors a year at this park.
The most visited state park, for sure.
Most visited state park. And I think it's over 40 countries that we've recorded. We record all of our visitors at the bathhouse. They sign in, and it's amazing. And I think it makes sense that most of our surrounding states, Montana, Colorado, South Dakota, are probably our most visited states, because during the winter, a lot of times we get a lot of regional people who come to the park, so it makes sense. But we get people from all over the world that hear about hot springs and want to come and visit and sit in the mineral water.
It's one of the great parts, really, of Thermopolis's economy, I would assume.
It is. It's one of the main engines of our tourist.
How do you market? And are your visitors here primarily older, or do you find that millennials somehow discover the park? How do you get the word out, especially to younger people?
We work a lot with, here at our park, we work a lot with the Travel and Tourism Board, and we're a big part of their advertising budget. And
here in Hot Springs County?
Yes, the Hot Springs County Travel and Tourism. Mm-hmm. And plus also we work, the state park system, our whole department works with the Wyoming Office of Tourism. So anyway, I think we could do a better job, but we're working on that to try to do the state parks is doing a new marketing plan and try to come up with some ideas. But really social media is now our ticket. And just through social media, we get a lot of words out. Our visitors in the summer are families, lots of families coming through. And then in the fall, it slows down, and a lot of retired people are here enjoying the springs. And man, I just really encourage people to come in the wintertime, because the water is it's so relaxing during the winter when it's 20 degrees out and you can go sit in 104 degrees water and it's snowing on top of you. It's the best time to come.
I actually wonder how you get work done, because it is so relaxing.
It is.
When people come here, Kevin, there's so much to see. What surprises the average visitor? What is it that they just didn't know?
I think most of our visitors are surprised that there's no entrance fee. They don't have to pay to get in if they want to go just to the bathhouse. I think the other thing is just the beauty of the park, the grass, the shelter areas, the flower gardens, just the place to come and just relax and enjoy. One thing that we are trying to develop more is some walking trails. We have about 8 miles of trails now.
And let me just say, we've been here now for a couple hours this morning. There are people walking everywhere.
Yes, correct. They every day we have people walking. We're trying to develop some new trails. This hill back behind you, T Hill, it's part of the park, and we're working on a trail system and making that more of a recreational area available to our users.
Your strategic plan that you touched on earlier talks about how important state parks are to Wyoming's effort to diversify its economy. Where do you see Hot Springs State Park fitting in that puzzle?
I think really just trying to get into a little bit more of the outdoor recreation, really put an emphasis on the river, on floating, fishing. We have paddle boarders going down the river now.
This is a pretty swift river, Kevin.
Yeah, I know. And the nice thing
right now it is.
Yeah, it is. And developing some more trails. The nice thing about Hot Springs State Park is that we're kind of a town park. We're right in the middle of Thermopolis, but we work a lot with the county commissioners and the town of Thermop and the local travel and tourism. Governor Meade had a outdoor rec task force put into a year ago, and they started developing some plans. So we're working on a Bighorn Basin outdoor rec plan to try to get outdoor recreational activities, whether they're hiking, fishing, boating, four-wheeling, that kind of thing. We're just really emphasizing that now as kind of a growth area.
Kind of expanding the uses of the park.
Yeah, uses of the park and the surrounding areas, yes. Try to tie them all together.
So what also is on your horizon as far as maybe new ideas or new services that people might see in the park? In our master plan, one of the number one topics for our park was camping. We have no camping in the park. People call all the time, wanting to reserve a campsite. So one of our top priorities in our master plan is to develop camping. Is that with yurts and other things that you see in other state parks?
That's what we're looking at, yeah. Mm-hmm. We're looking at something that may not compete with the local private RV places. Mm-hmm. Maybe yurts, little cabins, glamping is a thing, is kind of a tent camping that's glorified.
What is glamping? Explain that a little more.
Glamping is basically taking a wall tent and putting it on a platform so you have a floor and having some lights, electricity to it, that kind of thing. So
glamorous camping? Is that what
glamorous
this
camping,
is? Yeah.
Yep. And so actually we've worked with, we've talked to a couple of our concessionaires about maybe, because we're so concessionaire based at this park, our talk and our master plan was that, does the state park want to get into the camping, or do we want one of our concessionaires to? And it would probably actually go to a concessionaire. Maybe they operate glamping or yurts and that kind of thing. And so trying to find places for that is what we're working on right now, down along the river. We'd like to use the riverfront as that possibility.
Your concessionaires contribute revenue to the park, and that's what you get in lieu of user fees?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Is it a significant amount?
Not really. It's not that much, but I think just the number of visitors we get here and the taxes and everything that they're doing with buying groceries and gasoline and that kind of thing just really helps the state and helps our general budget, which we're funded from. So,
how many staff, Kevin, do you have? And I assume that more in season than at other times?
Yep, we have 7 full-time people year-round, and then we bring on 5 to 7 seasonals. And we've developed, the state parks has developed a really good volunteer program. We have a couple campsites for volunteer workers, and so we get people that come in from all over, bring their trailers, their motorhomes. They camp here for a month, 3 months, 4 months, whatever it might be, and they really help us out.
And what sort of services might a volunteer provide?
Here they, since a lot of the state parks, they are camp hosts. They run campgrounds. Here we don't have any camping, obviously, so we have them work at the bathhouse. We have them help us in the park. They do just general maintenance. They go out and build fence, take care of flowers, mow, feed buffalo, whatever it might be. They help out. And they're basically park maintenance people.
How difficult is it for you to maintain a workforce here in Thermopolis?
It's getting tougher every year to get seasonals, and just because some rules that we have, and plus our season here, our growing season, our busy season really for us starts first part of April. We start irrigating, we start mowing, and then it goes clear into October. So we're trying to find people that can work for 4 or 5, 6 months. The day of having high school kids is that's been phased out. We can't hire anybody unless they're 18 or older to operate equipment. So it's really getting tougher. Our workforce now has been a lot of elderly people.
Kevin, the state overall has been participating in a little bit of a downturn as far as the statewide economy, and of course there have been cuts to government. I assume there have been cuts to the state park budgets as well. Has that impacted you a little bit?
It does. It does, just on where we spend our money. The legislature's been good about giving us some maintenance monies that we put to good use. All the parks do. So we just have to really work together to try to get some things done. For instance, we needed some tree work done here, so we worked with Bison and Medicine Lodge up by Hyattville. They also needed tree work, so we combined one large project and got some really good bids on that, because we combined 3 projects versus 1. So those are the things we're kind of trying to do, is just trying to be a little more adaptive and try to combine things to make it so we can spread our money out a little further.
I think, Kevin, as we get a couple more gray hairs, what we think about maybe at Hot Springs State Park is this is where the fountain of youth is. Any truth to that?
Yes, there is. It's the health and wellness place. Back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, that's what it was really here for. It was medicinal purposes. They had apartments and sanitariums, doctors in the park. People came here for healing, and some of the old brochures talk about all the things that it cured, from rheumatism to stomach disorders to skin, burn victims. One thing that was really caught my attention, and I kind of laughed about it, was it helped cure alcoholism. I'm not sure of the correlation there, but it's in one of the brochures. But that was the time before lots of medicine and drugs and things like that, and the healing water was, people came from all over. Polio victims came here, stayed. We had apartments right down here by the river. They could rent an apartment for 6 months, a year, and go soak, and they had physical therapists basically on staff here at the old plaza. The Best Western Plaza used to be a sanatorium where people could stay, and there was doctors in there. So it really got its start like that with the medicinal purposes, and we've kind of gotten away from that. It's more recreation now. And
there are still people that come here though, because it makes them feel
that was a lot of talk during our master plan is how do we get back to that healing and wellness part of the water. So that's kind of something we're working on.
Are there any capital projects here at the park, Kevin, that are on your horizon?
There's one major one that we're hope will start next spring, and it's improving the entrance to the park with the underpass there. We just have a difficult time with that underpass, and we're putting a whole new entrance there, not really doing anything to the underpass, but we're going to put signs and try to just make that look a lot more presentable. So that'll all happen in the spring, and we're working on the design phase of it right now. So that's really the major thing, and I think people really notice it. 15, 20,
30 years from now, you and I come back here, reminisce about the good old days of umpiring baseball together
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
kind of stuff. What's going to be different about the park, do you think?
I would hope that there's more opportunity to maybe soak in the water in natural settings. That's one thing that was asked a lot during our master plan was do we have to go to a pool? Can we try to get in the water somewhere in a natural setting?
Kevin, there's a lot of obviously geothermal activity here. Is there a lot of research that happens here in the park?
There is quite a bit, yeah. The University of Wyoming does a lot. High schools send kids up, they sample water and do tests on the travertine, the rocks and the formations, and other universities come in and they do a lot, yeah.
Tell me, you have a relationship with local schools.
We do.
What do kids get to experience when they come here?
We do tours on the geothermal activity here. We take kids over to the big spring, across the river, across Swinging Bridge, and talk about the thermal water, where it comes from, and how the terraces get formed and that kind of thing. So we do a lot of geological tours here in the park. Kevin,
expand for a minute, if you would, on what one can experience here in winter when there might be snow on the ground. Obviously, trails are clear. What can happen here in the wintertime?
I think the biggest thing, obviously, is the mineral water. Soaking in the water in the winter is key. But we keep all of our trails, our sidewalks, our paths open. We plow them all the time, keep them open. Plus, the river, the Bighorn River, through this stretch, stays open, and so it's very easy to fish from the banks still in the wintertime. Good fishing. So we encourage people to come enjoy the water.
People in spring and summer will hop in where, Kevin? At Wedding of the Waters?
That's
a little bit south
the
of
most popular spot, yep.
And they'll fish all the way down and hop out here?
Fish, float. There's kids, adults, families that hook inner tubes together, float on inner tubes. There's paddle boarding, all sorts of things going on the river nowadays. Yeah.
Well, Kevin, this is a fantastic park. For those of us who lived in Fremont County as kids, we were here often. But there's so much to see. It's so much more than just the water slide or the buffalo. There's a lot that happens here. So congratulations on the work that you do, and thank you so much for joining us today on Wyoming Chronicle.
You're welcome. Thank you.